All right, my friends, welcome. Today I have a fun little floor-based flow with the kettlebell that I've been exploring with recently and thought I'd share. So this flow is going to involve us kneeling, lunging, windmilling, as well as utilizing some skills like the bottoms up rotation in this kneeling position, as well as a modified halo where we are ending up in this rack position to switch sides. I'll show you the flow and then we're going to jump into a step-by-step tutorial on how to go about this continuous ground-based flow. As far as bell weight goes, right here I'm using an 8 kg bell just to keep it nice and light and to be able to focus on the actual movement patterns. And so you may choose whatever bell you desire. Just make sure it's light enough that you can focus on the movement patterns and transitions before increasing. So our first movement that we are going to learn is the bottoms up rotation in kneeling position. Bottoms up rotation looks like such. What I am doing is from this rack position, casting outwards. Pay attention to my thumb. As I cast out, I'm going to point my thumb across the body. It's going to rise up. Once I pass my midline, I'm going to naturally start the curl to make contact here with the handle of the opposite hand. Opposite hand's going to take over, come across my body again, thumb rotation into that rack position. So see if you can see that. Thumb, make contact here, and switch sides. Cast out, switch sides. We're going to have to rely on momentum in this movement, and because we are kneeling, there's going to be a lot of core activation as we are pulled side to side. Also, if you have long arms and you end up hitting the ground, hopefully you don't, but if you do have long arms, what you're going to have to do is keep a little bit of a curl in or a bend in your elbow so you have some clearance over the ground. So go ahead and practice this a few times. Paradoxically, if you try and lean away and throw the bell outwards to clear your knees, you're probably going to hit yourself even more than if you try and keep the movements nice and close to the body, like such. So practice a few times, pause the video, and then once you've learned this movement, we're going to move on to the next movement. So the next movement in this flow is going to be a step forward with the opposite leg that the bell in the hand lands in. And so if I start on my left side, bottoms up rotation into my right arm, I'm going to be stepping with the left. And you can practice this a few times. So use the counterbalance of the kettlebell swinging to bring that opposite leg up. So what I mean by that is, as it comes here, as I'm swaying this way, step forward. Just get to know the timing of when to step forward into that front lunge. So again, practice a few times. Find your balance. It's going to be helpful if we keep our shoulders squared facing forward and have some fun with this variation. Once we've covered the bottoms up rotation coming into that lunge, we're going to perform a modified halo. So for those of you who don't know, the halo looks like this. The bell's upside down. I'm grabbing the horns and I am rotating the bell around my head as such. Now the modified halo we're going to do, and you can meet me in a kneeling position to practice this, I'm going to be doing that halo, but as I come around, I'm going to rotate the handle onto my wrist to get me into this rack position. To get out of it, I'm going to grab the handle, coming to my halo position, and then flip the bell onto my wrist. So I'll show you facing the other way so you can see what's going on behind me. From this rack position, bring it up, contact with the handle. I'm now grabbing the horns, and I can use my thumb to push the handle onto my wrist. This is actually quite a beautiful fluid movement, and you should be completing one rotation to switch sides. Make sure your elbows are getting up high. This will help you with that transition. And we're nice and light. You're going to have to keep a light grip to make sure you are pivoting and shifting grips. I'll show you from behind. So I'm in my rack position, grab the handle. I'm now on the horns, elbows to the sky, and I can rotate the handle onto my wrist, just like so. If you have good shoulder mobility, you'll be able to easily get that bell around your head. If you don't, get it back first, grab, and then you can sort of rotate it with one hand on. If you can keep two hands on, awesome. So by now we have our bottoms up rotation. We are stepping forward with the opposite leg, and now we are going to complete that modified halo to end up in this windmill ready position for the kneeling windmill. So I end up here after my bottoms up switch, halo, the bell is over my knee. Now, as I'm doing that, to help me prepare for that kneeling windmill, as I'm going behind my head, I'm going to shift my back leg 90 degrees to the wall. So now I am really ready for that kneeling windmill. You can practice that a few times. Bang. Bang. From here, we go down for our kneeling windmill. Now there's two variations you can use. What I will be using is a bent press variation where instead of starting from up here and completing my windmill, I'm going to start from here and drop my body under the bell so the bell seemingly stays in the same place. I've locked out my arm. I'm going to rise up. Rise up. Now for those of you who don't know how to do that kneeling windmill, from this 90-90 position, so I'm 90 degrees here, my back leg, 90 degrees, the body loves 90-90s for stability. From here, what I'm going to do with that bell above my head, and if you are new to the windmill, start with the variation where the bell is locked out here. From here, what you're going to do is just turn to the side so you're facing over your front knee. With a steady and stable lockout position, I'm going to be hinging that back butt cheek over my back heel. So in this case, my left butt cheek is going to be dropping over my left heel. I'm keeping my spine nice and elongated as I open my chest towards my knee or slightly forward. You can start by touching the ground, eventually come on to the forearm and elbow. Notice how I am looking up to make sure I know where that bell is, and it's a hinge. I am pushing back with my butt to allow space for me to drop down. Now, the point of the windmill is to stay elongated. So, because we're holding the kettlebell on the upper part of the body, it's common for that bell to want to deform us in some way. So I'm going to make sure that bridge from chest to hip is nice and strong. As I hinge, I'm keeping that line as best as possible, pushing up. With the kettlebell, looks like this. Strong lockout position. Little professional tip. If you angle your thumb backwards a little bit, you're going to activate your lat a little bit more. It's going to make that overhead position that much more stable. Tilt back, kind of open up a little bit over my knee, hinge at the hips, look up, breathe in as you go down to stabilize the core, breathe out as you go upwards. Practice this. I won't go over the bend press variation. Maybe I'll do that in another video, but we're going to keep it simple for now. If you're just learning the windmill, start from up here. So as we do that bottoms up rotation, we do the halo. What you're going to do is just start from up here. Moving on. Next part of the flow is going to be after our windmill, bend press, or lockout variation. I'm going to drop it back down to this rack position and then go for another halo modified transition to get back to our original side. You note how I've stepped back. Now I'm ready to throw that bottoms up rotation. What I like doing again is throwing and stepping back at the same time. Toss, step back. Now we're on to the other side. We clean, modified halo, step back as we do so, bend press or straight arm variation, bring it down. Don't forget to switch sides, which allows us to move on in a continuous fashion. And once we have those elements down, we can put everything together and start to find a little bit more flow with the movements. And so, last time going through the flow, bottoms up rotation. Step forward with the opposite leg, modified halo to a rack position, kneeling windmill ready. I'm going to do a bend press, step up, drop it down, modified halo to switch sides, straighten out the back leg, bottoms up rotation, modified halo, switch the back leg, bang, bang, come back, and here is our little cool ground flow that you can try out. We're working core, we're working all these different movements, we're working some mobility in the hips as well as the back from that kneeling windmill. But I invite you to look beyond a lot of the physical benefits. Sometimes things, flows, and combinations don't have to have a point. Sometimes they're just creative expressions of movement. They're novel ways of moving that are just fun to do and to explore. I hope you enjoy. Take care.